Greetings, Grace. And here we are doing our cover to cover, finishing up the very end of the book of Exodus and then venturing forth into Numbers. We'll be doing Numbers 9, 15 through 23, followed by Numbers 7, 1 through 89. The theme for today is the enthronement of Yahweh on his throne. Together with the end of the book of Exodus, we have an enthronement narrative that goes into 4 parts, and they're pretty straightforward, so here we go. The first movement is in Exodus 39, verses 33 through 40. Moses inspects the tabernacle. So after Noah built the ark, the text simply says, "And Noah did everything that God commanded him." Why doesn't the book of Exodus follow the same pattern? Why does Exodus give us a lengthy description of the building of the tabernacle and then detail Moses' personal audit of all this construction? First, the whole point of the tabernacle narrative is God dwelling among his people. The long descriptions are not incidental, but theologically important to the story. Second, the story of Israel is a literary journey, and the detailed descriptions are designed to invite readers to join along and participate in this journey. From the perspective of the text, this is our tabernacle, and Moses' audit serves as a unifying theme that affirms that we are all, including Moses, on the same journey. The tabernacle was completed communally, properly, and faithfully. The second movement is Exodus 40, 34 through 38. Yahweh descends in the cloud, but Moses cannot enter the tabernacle. When the cloud of glory descends upon the tabernacle, Yahweh is enthroned between the cherubim as Israel's king. This represents a change in the relationship between Israel and Yahweh. And even though Yahweh's throne is right there, something still hinders Israel's access to God. In our literary journey through the Torah, the next step would be the book of Leviticus. Leviticus explains and outlines exactly how access to God is obtained. And so Exodus kind of ends, leaving us kind of hanging. Even though Yahweh is there and he's present on his throne, something is keeping us away. And so Leviticus outlines the complex sacrificial system that establishes how a broken people are able to approach a holy God. So now, in the third movement, we're ready to go on to Numbers 9, 15 through 23. And this is Israel's relationship with Yahweh, how it is established, and how they learn to follow him. Keeping in mind that we're on a literary journey, and that from the perspective of, the Torah observant Jew, we've just come through the book of Leviticus. Numbers 1 begins with the words, "The Lord spoke to Moses in the wilderness of Sinai in the tent of meeting." And so Numbers establishes kind of a statement that the Levitical system worked. We built the tabernacle, a system was established, and now Israel has access to God. They can commune with him finally. Now that communion with God has been established, Numbers 9, 15 through 23 gives us a description of Israel's time in the wilderness. The cloud of glory would leave the tabernacle, and Israel would follow it to wherever it went, whatever place that it went to. One takeaway from the story would be to look through the Bible and see what kinds of things happen in the wilderness. In the wilderness is where God's people most often feel alone and feel abandoned, but it's also a place where Yahweh's protection and activity is most obvious. That's kind of what's happening right here with the cloud leading the people through the wilderness. And we see a parallel story later in Kings as Elisha the Tishbite runs away and hides off in the wilderness away from everybody and everything. And that brings us to our fourth movement, Numbers 7, 1 through 89. Here we have the offerings from the different tribes of Israel, and it's a very long and tedious list that repeats itself for each and every tribe of what is being brought and what's being offered in the dedication of the tabernacle. What's happening here is that the list is following the same narrative logic that took place in our descriptions of the tabernacle. It has a liturgical value, it's intentionally repeated, and what it's doing is it's bringing us there on the journey with them so that we can envision ourselves as being part of that community, bringing ourselves and bringing our own offerings to God in the dedication of His kingship, of His leadership over us as a community. This reminds me of Romans 12, 1 through 2, where it says, "Therefore I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, His good, pleasing, and perfect will." Couple of things is the idea of presenting ourselves as sacrifices, as free will offerings to God, but also this idea of not being conformed to the pattern of this world. It's echoing the same tabernacle logic where God says, "See that you do everything according to the pattern which I show you." There is a pattern in Holy Scriptures of what it means to follow God, and we're being called to not be conformed to the pattern of the world, but to follow the pattern that God has established for us.